Howdy YouTube! It is your favorite silly biologist cat girl here. Yes, I did study biology. I am now a full-time cat girl though, if you are wondering. But we are here to react to some casual geographic. This is leopard seal. I am super excited. Or I believe it's a leopard seal. I'm presuming it's a leopard seal. But anyways, let's dive on in and do come follow me on Twitch if you want more content from me. Let's do it. A creature as mysterious as it is majestic with a reptilian head and the powerful feline grace of a panther. They are majestic. Yes.
Plenty of people are terrified of the ocean, and arguably no other animal embodies thalassophobia more than the predator time seemingly left behind. Most people—
Let me know down below in the comments too if you're afraid of the ocean or not. I'm curious. Are you afraid or do you like the ocean?
will never see one alive, yet they remain one of the most nightmarish and uncanny, but also complicated and least understood apex predators on the planet. In fact, the first time you ever heard of a leopard seal, it was probably giving Happy Feet hell. Or the pebble and the penguin, in which case, make sure those doctor appointments are booked. You're getting up there. Or maybe—
I feel like a lot of people, unfortunate to say this, I feel like a lot of people underestimate the seal, right? They think of a seal, they think of a silly little creature, and a lot of people forget that the leopard seal exists.
It was—
Oh my gosh, jump scare.
If you or a loved one was a victim of that jump scare, you may be entitled to financial compensation. Not for me, though. The penguin paralysis demon is incredibly feared for an animal we don't know that much about. Hey, what's a sea leopard's favorite fast food? Popeyes. But there's a whole other side to the assault sausage. One that just might bring you to tears if you watch long—
He eats penguins. Ahaha.
Enough. This video isn't to make you fear or hold hate, but understand and even appreciate the alpha seal, not for just what it is, but how and why. And all I ask is that y'all hear me out.
Okay.
But there is no why as to why people find leopard seals optically disturbing. Few other animals pass the eye test for being that terrifying. The leopard seal looks like a mammalian mosasaur, a prehistoric predator with a permasmirk. And if you think I'm exaggerating, you haven't seen or better yet heard what happens when one hauls out near humans.
Uh-oh, uh-oh.
Run.
It's crazy.
I thought that they would have the typical, like, the E-E-E sound, not the whatever this was. You know what I mean? Not, I know E-E kind of sounds like a dolphin, but you know what I mean when I say that? Didn't realize that they would have, like, that deep throaty sound.
Right? You can hear it in your chest. Another thing is, people often suffer from a lack of scale with sea animals. They don't know how huge tuna are, how big dolphins get, and that leopard seals can grow to 12 feet long and weigh over 1,200 pounds.
12 feet?
Trust me,
I thought they were like 8 feet long. 12 feet, holy.
There's a worse picture than this down the line. Chances are, you've never looked a leopard seal in the mouth, because then you'd have to be surgically removed from your therapist's couch. Those teeth are built like that for a reason we'll get into soon, but this internal mugshot may be coming to a beach near you. Abolish any idea that an air-breathing barracuda is confined to Antarctica, as they've been found as far as Antarctica, New Zealand, South Africa, Argentina, the Falklands, and more. There's at least one leopard seal aware of platypus, and that's insane to me. So is the idea that this apex pinniped could be pulling up to a pier by you. That would raise the hairs on Caillou, and even with
imagine thinking it's dead and you go up to touch it, holy moly.
many roles as the op to a penguin protagonist, people have spoken on the horror of sea leopards for centuries. Going back to the early 1900s, explorer Ernest Shackleton wrote about an Antarctica expedition where at one point, one of his men was chased across the ice by an aggressive, believed to be 12-foot leopard seal. The man thought he was in the clear when the massive seal dove back into the water. But then the sea leopard tracked him by following his shadow under the ice and ambushing and nearly snatching him at the next gap in the ice. And Thomas Ordley's likely would have been a statistic if one of the crew hadn't shot the seal before it could reach him. In 1985, explorer Gareth Wood was walking across—
That speaks volume right there on how well they are at tracking though, right?
A thin ice layer when a Jurassic jump scare broke out of the ice, clamping its jaws on his leg and nearly dragging him into the water, and he was only saved by his mates kicking at the seal's head with boot crampons. And that's what separates sea leopards from a lot of other predators. The vast majority of sharks will ignore you, but whether out of curiosity or something else, leopard seals will boldly swim right into your space. It's the closest you can get to an encounter with a murder maid. It was right there. Most times, they genuinely seem curious and like they're
Murder Maid is such a good name. Bro, they look so— I don't know if anyone else says or thinks that they look so cute. I think they look so cute. They're so deadly, but man, they look so cute.
Investigating your presence. But other times, they do the kind of things that led to researchers equipping inflatable boats with protective guards because of how often a 12-foot vibe check would bite through it. You only get away with that as an apex predator, and present tense plesiosaur dinosaur is absolutely apex. They will eat anything. Those freakish teeth are actually for catching krill, and having trident-shaped teeth helps filter them out of the water. Krill that can be nearly 50% of their diet. Of course, the leopard seal's list has much more on it, including often other seals like fur seals, and even their closest cousin, the crab eater. Obviously, they'll eat fish, and in New Zealand, that can include sharks. Leopard seals also grieve squid. One was caught with a sea snake, and there's even one case of a leopard seal attempting to take out a minke whale. Even the ocean's top predator, the orca, rarely resorts to hunting an aquatic velociraptor, because this is not the average seal. But if you know this seal, you know the most famous victims of leopard seals are penguins. Even though penguins aren't even the biggest part of their diet. Leopard seals are a lot more calculated than most think, and will camp themselves right at the ice's edge where they know
they probably find enrichment in hunting a penguin, right? I know that sounds bad, but like they probably enjoyed that hunting aspect, the chasing aspect, like looking, sky hopping to see the penguin on the iceberg, and it's probably like joy for them as well when they hunt one.
Penguin's entry point, which pretty much makes them a mammalian crocodile. With penguins, they'll either ambush them from below, or with a top speed of 25 miles per hour, they'll get into a police chase with an unlucky penguin. The leopard seal abuses this matchup so bad that not only will they surplus skill and murk more penguins than they eat, they'll eventually make a game out of it. Leopard seals have been seen chasing down penguins into exhaustion and seemingly toying with the bird. They'll traumatize.
So it is for enrichment on their behalf, especially if they're not even killing to eat and they're just killing to do something.
The penguin within an inch of its life and then just shove off.
And then just
like
leave
it. Was a sick joke. But it's when leopard seals aren't playing that things get R-rated, and it all goes back to those teeth. Those teeth can maul the grizzlies and gives them a demon's headshot. But they lack the shearing teeth carnivores need to slice prey. And that's why you see them body birds by slamming and suplexing them against the water. A leopard seal will thrash a penguin until it genuinely gets degloved, and the penguin skinned and flayed every possible way gets eaten. So with all that, Stevie Wonder could see how the king seal of the South got its bad rep, but wild sea leopards do have one thing that not even killer whales.
I thought it would be a little bit better at shredding skin there, or shredding a predator, but I guess you know, body slamming into the water also works as long as the prey is small enough.
Do. And that's a human body. There's only one case in recorded human history of a leopard seal killing a person. But it's also one of the most brutal animal attack stories I've ever shared on this channel. So for obvious reasons, viewer discretion.
Okay, warning, this is about to get graphic. If you don't like death, trigger warning, all that, skip ahead a couple minutes.
Is advised.
Okay.
Kirsty Brown was a 28-year-old marine biologist for the British Antarctic Survey, and on July 22nd, 2003, she and a buddy were snorkeling near Rothera Research Station. They were studying the impact of iceberg scouring on the environment when the leopard seal studying Kirsty violently made an impact on her. At this point, nobody had ever lost their life to a sea leopard, but there were documented instances of aggression, and as a rule, nobody was allowed in the water if a leopard seal was spotted. The problem was, no one saw this leopard seal until Kirsty screamed and disappeared. Only to
I just realized we have the Halo. Sorry to pause here. We have freaking Halo music playing in the background. You know how much I used to love Halo growing up? Okay, lock in on this story now.
Surface with her head in the seal's jaws. From there, the normally sized seal would drag her deep underwater, release her long enough to just almost resurface, just to grab and drown her again, all while mauling her with bone-crushing bites. Eventually, Kirsty and the seal disappeared, and the last time her dive buddy saw her alive, she was 20 feet underwater, desperately fighting to break free, while the apex seal held her by a fin. Eventually, the seal resurfaced, over a half-mile from where they were last seen, and after bashing the predator in the head with a shovel, the rescue crew fended the seal off and finally pulled Kirsty into the boat. Tragically, as you can tell, despite several CPR attempts, Kirsty Brown would be pronounced dead right there. Kirsty's body was recovered with over 40 bite wounds, and her dive computer revealed something arguably worse.
Well, it sounds like he was toying with him, right? It sounds like the leopard seal bit, dragged down, release, prey swims up, repeat cycle. Strictly just toying with it.
The 10 minutes of hell.
With it as in her. It's just unfortunate. It's really unfortunate, but it sounds like it's a predator that gets satisfaction in tormenting its prey. That's what the leopard seal sounds like. I don't know much about leopard seals. I don't really know much about like Antarctica animals, and I know that they don't, you know, particularly just live in Antarctica. They're seen elsewhere, but this is like not a specialty I know at all. So it's kind of crazy. It's crazy. It's always crazy, regardless of it being an apex predator or whatever. It's always crazy to do a deep dive in animals and learn more about it.
Leopard seal had dragged Kirsty to a maximum depth of 70 meters. That's
Holy,
230 feet. But personally, the most disturbing part was
Yeah.
Kirsty was already an exceptionally small human at 5'1", 120 pounds,
Holy.
and eyewitnesses said this was an exceptionally massive seal.
So it's about double her
estimated to have been
size.
4.5 meters. That's nearly 15 feet long and well over 1,300
Almost
pounds,
triple.
which I genuinely don't want to believe, even if it was based off the seal's size relative to the boat. Because not only would that mean a 5-foot woman was mauled by one of the largest leopard seals ever seen, but this is what that size disparity would have looked like. There's no f***ing way! And since no one ever asked the leopard seal why, the most popular theory is that her size, black dry suit, and fins.
And the thing is too, that they didn't even see the leopard seal when they went first diving, right? This leopard seal was unspottable. Like, he was not there.
Caused the colossal carnivore to clock Kirsty as a penguin or fur seal. And in all her struggling, flailing, and failing to get away, all Kirsty managed was to act like prey. Which sounds wild victim blaming, and I swear I'm not. There's a reason there's no jokes in this section. This was genuinely one of the worst animal-related deaths I've read about. Imagine being mauled by a bear, but also while being waterboarded.
Yeah.
In fact, let's get even more descriptive. Kirsty Brown spent the last 10 minutes of her life fighting an animal nearly triple her length and 10 times her weight while being severely mauled to the head and being brought tortuously close to
She tried. And this is why wild animals is dangerous. Keep that in mind. But you know what? You may be doing it here on YouTube. I'm not sure. But I doubt you guys are approaching a leopard seal. But this goes to any animal. Make sure you always have your guard up. Unfortunately, this was an ambush scenario. No one knew that it was here. But regardless, this applies to any animal you are meeting. Make sure your guard is up when you are encountering wildlife, regardless of what that wildlife is. Friendly reminder, remember that. Put that in your head and never forget it, okay?
the surface before being pulled again over 200 feet into a freezing abyss.
My
Not only could the
gosh.
violent pressure changes cause a burst eardrum
Plus
or even
the
an
cold
embolism,
water.
her compromised wetsuit would have introduced Antarctic ice-chilled water directly to her skin. In the most respectful way, I really hope she blacked out or went into shock, because that is a nightmare Final Destination couldn't dream up. Kirsty Brown would have an island posthumously named after her, and her death led to more safety measures and protocols being implemented.
That's nice. That's a nice way to commemorate her, though, giving her her own island, so she will not be forgotten. And then people want to know the history. They'll know the history, which will bring awareness to, you know, leopard seals. Nice way. I think that's nice, beautiful. It's really unfortunate that she lost her life in this way, but it's nice that they took the time to commemorate her. She seemed like such an intelligent being, such a like happy being. It's always unfortunate too when we lose such a young scientist, but I'm happy to hear that she was commemorated for it.
There was another consequence of a horrific demise. The much more strict regulations now meant many of the biologists trying to learn more about the seals were now forbidden from entering the water to study them.
Makes sense.
Something many, like dive guide Kelvin Murray, would call an overreaction. Suddenly, an animal we barely knew much about was now basically impossible to learn more about. It was a lot like the stingray. Stingrays are rarely aggressive, and less than 5 people in human history have lost their life to one in Australia. But because one of them was Steve Irwin, you had an entire generation ready to punch out an aquatic placemat. Even though the circumstances of his death were insanely bad luck, and Khaki Jesus would have passed twice if he saw the stingray hate. Only one person has ever died to a sea leopard. It's just that the attack was so brutal that, and the pro-penguin media meant, a blubber assault weapon got demonized to hell. To be fair, with the things I said they'll do to penguins, other seals, and even humans, how could you not call this ice cube mammalian missile crisis a sea demon? I wouldn't blame.
Well, I feel like it's just taking precautions, right? We had such a bad and brutal death, you know, by diving within this area. That's just a preventable measure, so we don't have another bad and not predictable death, but another bad death in that same sort due to the freaking seal, right?
You for being afraid, but at least give the other side of the leopard seal a chance. I was not lying when I said a pool full of sharks will ignore you. The leopard seal will get right up in your face and conduct an investigation in your personal space. Kirsty might have been a tragic exception because aggressive or predatory encounters with humans normally happened at the ice's edge, aka the leopard seal's favorite ambush spot. But almost
but the thing is, was the leopard seal stalking them without them knowing? Because it seems like he's really good at seeing shadows through the ice and picking up on that, right?
Time a leopard seal has approached a human already in the water, they're doing it from a place of curiosity. That is really weird for a predator. Like, for all their bad PR, bears usually avoid people. And an experiment found that even the top predators in Africa hightail it whenever they hear human. But a giga seal,
but you're not. I feel like ocean, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, YouTube comments here. I feel like things in the ocean are generally more curious when it comes to humans. Like we see this in dolphins and we see this in whales, we see this in like manatees. Mind you, these aren't all prey species. Some of them are prey, some of them are predators. But I feel like when it comes to like intelligent mammals, sorry, shark, but when it comes to intelligent mammals in the ocean, they are curious for the most part.
Will study us the same way we do them. That's weird. One seal made it even weirder.
They're curious.
In 2006, photographer Paul Nicklin took a trip to Antarctica to hopefully find the steroid seal. Funny thing is, leopard seals are hard to find. They're hard for you to find. To them, you're easy. It wasn't long until Paul had a giant females are bigger by the way, leopard seal circling his zodiac. And it was at this moment he ignored every primitive instinct and ancestral alarm and got in the water and braced himself. The seal with a head bigger than a grizzly bear's made a beeline towards Paul. And right when Paul feared the worst and held up his camera as a feeble defense, the she leopard stopped and just sized him up.
What?
Science says if you're able to stay calm and hold your ground, a leopard seal will go from possibly aggressive to curious. And she even got close enough to study her reflection in his camera. It's like her internal monologue was saying, wait, you're not afraid. Why aren't you afraid? What are you? Then she got bored and swam away, but then came back with a live penguin, which she released in front of Paul. Obviously, Paul didn't take the offer, so the predator got another penguin, and then another one. And for the next 4 days, the same species that had mauled a woman to death would now be waiting to greet Paul whenever he entered the water in an attempt.
It sounds like it's like respecting the fact that the human didn't back down, right? Like not respecting a challenge, but it does notice that the human is not scared of it.
To feed him. I want y'all to really understand what was happening here. This she leopard was going out and tiring penguins and bringing them to Paul. And when Paul didn't eat, she'd bring increasingly lower HP penguins. She'd bring beat up, barely alive penguins, half-eaten penguins. At one point, Paul had 5 past tense penguins floating around his head. Paul would even swear that the leopard seal seemed genuinely disappointed with his lack of effort. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I can only think of one other time you had a wild predator straight up offering food to a person, and it was killer whales. And at least orcas have a history of hunting alongside people. We're not talking about a trained animal or one habituated to humans. We're talking about a wild predator going out of its way to provide for a person. That's not normal. Seals are the mermaids of bears. Imagine a polar bear door dashing your dinner. That's not even the only thing leopard seals and orcas have in common. Leopard seals are much smarter than the penguin media wants you to believe. Leopard seal handling manuals go out of their way to say,
in training, the most important aspect to accept them on their terms and above all. This is what I'm saying. A lot of your marine wildlife is super intelligent.
They're smart enough to be trained, but intelligent.
I have found that leopard seals are quite intelligent and are capable of learning a wide variety of acts. They're intelligent enough to make training extremely frustrating. I mean, you can teach, like if you look at like a mammal trainer, right? Like a sea aquatic, whatever you want to call them, a mammal trainer, they do teach not leopard seals, because I don't think there's leopard seals in captivity, right? But like they teach harbor seals and stuff basic commands and stuff.
Enough to be stubborn, and they're prone to pout and act difficult like children. At the same time, they also say that ignoring a difficult seal is a pretty solid way to get them to cooperate. Leopard seals aren't just highly intelligent, they're deeply emotional creatures too. Nora was a leopard seal that made news because it was the first time scientists watched a modern-day mosasaur mourn. Nora had a pup that tragically passed away, and in grieving, Nora would stay with her lost child for over 20 days. Nora didn't just watch over her child, she'd move the body across the ice, carried it in her jaws, and even got aggressive whenever people would get too close to them. And we've seen this before. It wouldn't even be the only time, as in 2021, 23, and 24, scientists documented the same mother doing the same thing with 3 different pups.
Oh no!
Which is a different kind of tragic. And again, the last time
I guess she can't. I'm like, yeah, I was about to say we saw this in the orca, same thing.
I remember hearing something like this. It was when orca J35, or Telequa, also grieved the death of her calf and couldn't let go. That's the problem with sea leopards being so understudied, because then you miss stuff like this. And that's not even mentioning arguably the most interesting thing about them. Leopard seals sing. Males will sing these beautifully haunting songs, and females in heat will respond with a song of their own. And if you haven't seen it, it's like an underwater opera or ballet from an animal that looks like a dinosaur. It's not just beautiful. Scientists actually studying these seal songs found that these songs are sequenced and structured a lot like human nursery rhymes.
Interesting.
This guy. I really feel like leopard seals would have way better PR.
Listen, you never judge an animal by the way it looks, right? Never judge an animal.
Could actually survive in zoos. They're one of those animals that just don't work in captivity. They're like the great white sharks of mammals. Few leopard seals have ever been held in zoos. And the most famous case was in Sydney's Taronga. You know what I think about at night sometimes? Sometimes I think about Casey. Casey was a male leopard seal believed to be the only male ever kept in captivity. He was found as a pup, abandoned on a beach in Guatemala, injured, emaciated, and with shark bites. Casey was brought to Taronga for treatment in 2007, where he joined female Brooke, who was rescued in 1999, and another female, Sabine, who got there a month before Casey. Now, I can already read the anti-zoo comments, so it's important to say that these seals could never be released back into the wild out of fear that if any of them—
Correct. And he said, the seal wasn't taken. The seal was found as a seal pup washed up on shore, emaciated, on the verge of dying. Probably would have died without human intervention. And I know it goes both ways here. You can either intervene or you can let nature take its course. And in this case, we probably intervened so we could understand and learn more about the leopard seal. See, this is why I love when casual touch upon this topic so much, because he does do his research and he does understand. And he always does mention, right? Like, I do love how he always brings this up.
were harboring any possible diseases, it wrecked the already fragile wild population. So Taronga kept them to look after and even possibly use as ambassadors. Because again, leopard seals can always use the PR. And as Casey matured, there was a hope that he could help breed the first ever leopard seal in captivity.
Interesting.
But since Brooke died of an illness not long after Casey showed up, it'd have to be him and Sabine. There was just one big problem. Male leopard seals sing for females, and as a seal found as a pup, Casey never learned his song. Taronga staff would play the recordings of adult leopard seal songs in hopes that Casey would find his. They even played saxophone for him. I'm not exactly sure why, but Casey wasn't above it. He genuinely seemed interested, so if he likes it, I love it. Tragically, Sabine would also be lost to an illness before Casey had the chance to court her. And as Casey finally did learn his song, he also died in 2014 after struggling with a prolonged sickness and mercifully being euthanized. That's how Casey's story ended. The last captive leopard seal ever. So at this point, I think you can see that leopard seals are so much more
I wonder if his sickness was related to him being in such a hard shape when he was a pup. You never know. Never know.
They've been lambasted and typecasted for as long as we've known about them, and demonized to hell. And you might ask, is that not what I was doing in the first half of this video? And honestly, I've been wanting to talk about that for a while. Skip to here if you don't want to hear the yap, but the biggest criticism I hear about myself is that I demonize animals, I spread misinformation to demonize them, and even that I've had a direct consequence on the conservation of those animals. And not a positive one. And honestly, whenever I would see that about myself, I get I'm not gonna lie, I get defensive and kind of hurt because I don't
think you demonize animals. You bring light to animals that had never had a light brought to them on social media, right?
I'm always saying you can't moral scale an animal, that you can't judge it, or you can't put a morality microscope on a wild animal. A zebra that has to weave crocs, cats, and a predatory laugh track don't give two stripes about being a good person. And then I feel like I try to make the separation between, these are the facts that I find interesting, and this is the casual comedic characterization of those animals. But yeah, some corners of Twitter do not like me.
Oh, I see. It's Twitter. Yeah, okay. I understand. We ignore Twitter for the most part. I love Twitter, but there is some things on Twitter that you should be ignored. Sorry. I was about to say, I think he does a well job. You can tell that he does his research, right? You can tell these are like not 100% educational videos. These are more of like bring awareness. Let's like show you some cool different sides of things that you didn't know. He's not strictly here to educate you on everything and get it to a T. Yes, he does do his research. He tries his best to do his research and tries his best to find accurate information. But when like he does make his mistake or something ends up in the video, he does mention it and point it out. And like I said, this isn't like an educational tool. Like you're not going to go teach this in a classroom. This is more used to bring awareness and like surround the animal and showcase the animal in a different light than maybe what you don't know about.
Especially with the dolphin thing, and I don't even have Twitter. I really just wish more people actually watch this video all the way through, or at least at the 940 mark, because I feel like I touch on a lot of the things folks criticize me for. Also, just to defend myself a little bit, I will take accountability, but the whole internet dolphin hate thread was a thing long before me. That didn't start with me. Some of y'all are giving
It's also people will hate without fully consuming your content. I learned that being here on YouTube, people will instantly judge you without hearing the explanation, regardless if the explanation is in the video or not, wherever it may be, but they are quick to judge and they will let you know that they are quick to judge. But at the end of the day, you know what this is? We call this free real estate, baby. If you want to hate comment, you help me in the algorithm. If I hate commenting, you actually boost me into the algorithm more. So remember that next time you go hate on a creator's profile, just remember you're actually helping them out and boosting them into the algorithm. See, a big brain move.
Way too much power by saying I single-handedly did that. I've always said that the facts, as far as I'm concerned, are true, and if they're not and I get something wrong, I feel like over the years I've shown that I have no problem coming out and correcting it. At the same time, if I call something like a Water Weinstein or a C Cosby, that doesn't mean I actually like you gotta know that I don't actually think dolphins should be persecuted to the full extent of the law. But I can understand the other side. Because like imagine you're a scientist or a marine biologist and every time you log online, you see people saying dolphins are evil, dolphins deserve to die, all dolphins are and for every like 10 people that say that, maybe 3 or 4 link one of my videos. Replay that interaction enough times and of course eventually you would just think, oh yeah, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about, fear-mongering mother. So that's why the last couple of years, I don't know if y'all have noticed, but I've tried to be more careful with the way I frame these videos. I'm still gonna get my jokes off, that's just how I talk. I'm pretty sure I called this an Ice Cube missile crisis, but that's why I've been wanting to say this, specifically in this video. I've always been fascinated by leopard seals,
I love that Casual took the time to talk to us and have like this heart-to-heart in this conversation. But like I said, at the end of the day, you're not going to please everyone. These are not here for educations. If you like can't decipher like I don't want to call this a comedy skit because it's not really a comedy skit, but like a comedy script involving certain animals, like it's here for entertainment value. This is an entertainment value versus an educational video. And like I said, he does admit when he messes up, and he will, if you ever look at like an old video, he'll normally like pin a comment or something if he got it like a fact wrong, or he'll mention it in his next video, etc. He is willingly and openly to learn, and that is wonderful to see as a creator. And that's why I love Casual Geographic. I absolutely adore him, and I love his content.
Especially the aspects that make them dangerous. In fact, whenever I'm emphasizing how dangerous an animal is, it's coming from a place of admiration.
Yeah.
At the same time, they already get demonized crazy, so you do have to be careful with how you walk that line. Ultimately, I think there's a middle ground where you can be entertaining enough to be an entry point for people to be interested in zoology.
I think
while also being fair to the animal. And I think it's also fair to ask for a little bit of grace whenever I'm calling something like a threat to humanity. But y'all say it again. Dolphins, chimps, hippos, otters, sea leopards, and all others aren't evil. They're just animals trying to make it to the next day without the human privilege of morality. But that's gonna do it for this video. Drink water, hug your mother, don't touch seals, and I'm gonna see y'all in the next one.
I love how he put the saxophone video at the end. That was a cute video. R.I.P. Casey and D. I love when you play music for animals. I love marine mammals, love music. Seavern, just want to throw it out there. I've never considered your favorite videos demonetizing or giving animals a bad rep. It's a great balance of scary, cute, fun facts. Keep doing what you're doing. See, that's how I view it too. That is what we're here for. We're here for entertainment. I love it. People forget to read the casual part of Casual Geographic. Yeah, unfortunately. I think there's a seal emote, so if you made it all the way to the end of this video, comment down a seal emote. Like I said, people are always going to be unhappy with you. It is the internet. You can do everything right, and there's still going to be people unhappy with you. At the end of the day, enjoy your free real estate. Enjoy your free algorithm boost, whatever that may be. I run into hate all the time, and I'm just like, man, I can't please everyone. If I'm not your creator, I'm not your creator. You can go find a creator for you. That's just how I create my content. I create content that I enjoy. If you enjoy it alongside with me, you're in it for the ride. If you don't enjoy it alongside with me, don't know what to tell you. I guess go next. You know what I mean? Like, that's how I view content creation, because there's like millions of content creators out there. Anyway, sorry. I'm sorry for the rant, but like I've had this big rant, I don't know, like a week ago on stream, going over all this, like similar to what Casual has went over too. So it's just funny that I ran into this topic in this video without knowing, after like directly having this conversation as well. But I will see you guys all later. Make sure you comment down the seal emoji. Do come check me out on Twitch if you want live reactions, all that fun stuff. I do gaming, I do gacha games, Endless 1-0, all that. So come check me out on Twitch. I will see you guys all later on the flip side. Take care, enjoy. Please like and subscribe. We are getting so close to 100,000 subscribers. So if you want to be part of the family, part of the journey, hit that like and subscribe button, and goodbye, everyone. Bye-bye.